Intellectual property, oftentimes shortened to IP, is a way to protect things people create with their minds, like inventions, creative works and ideas. It's sort of like owning a physical object, but in this case, it is owning the rights to something you thought up or you made. This concept, this protection, it helps artists, creators protect their rights and make money from the things they invent, create, or their ideas, whereby people need permission before they use these things created by these people. Like I always say, no human being created the hair on your head. So nobody has the right to use something that belongs to you without your consent. Everybody needs permission to use something that you created or that belongs to you. It is the people that are not aware of these things that fall victim. They are even happy and thankful for getting 2% of something that belongs to them 100%. But you see, ignorance of the consequences does not exempt you from the consequences. Here are some examples of intellectual properties. IP. Your beats, your melodies, your writing on songs, you're writing for movies, TV shows, or you played an instrument on a song, you're painting, you wrote a script, your photographs, the photographs you took by yourself, or your inventions, and so on. The assumption is that a lot of people are aware of intellectual property rights, but that is just an assumption. That's not the case. The amount of people that know about intellectual property rights are so few, it is unfathomable. You would actually think that this knowledge is for a select few, not for everybody. But that's not true, that's not the case. The knowledge is there for every single person who is interested. This assumption is so ridiculous that this thing is not even supposed to be a conversation, it's supposed to be a way of life. Because you see, the institutions that enforce and protect IP, they already exist. They've been existing. In fact, more are being created. And they've been existing for years. A lot of them have been existing for years. You can know about intellectual property and not know how it works. Yes, you can tell the story about intellectual property and you don't know how it works. Probably you just have the information. You don't have the wisdom, the true knowledge. What I'm trying to explain is like someone who can describe a BMX bicycle, tell you all the parts, but does not know how to ride a bicycle. So it is two different things. So there are reward systems that already exist around the world. They've been existing long before YouTube. These organizations are called copyright collection societies or collective management organizations, in abbreviation CMOs. These organizations, they operate in so many countries. They collect royalties on behalf of writers, authors, and creators for the use of their works. Examples of these organizations are ASCAP, Song Trust, Sound Exchange, and BMI. All these are US organizations for music. And for writers, there's the Writers Guild of America, WGA, for script writers. And then, for the UK, there's PRS for music, there's PPL, and there's a couple of them in the UK. For South Africa, we have SAMRO, and we have a couple other ones also. Africa has a lot of them as well. I mean, there are over 60 collection societies around the world. You definitely need to register with them. How they work is you can actually sign with the one in America such that they handle only the collection of your royalties around probably the continent of North America and South America. And you can assign PRS to collect for the whole of Europe, sign with one to collect for Asia, sign with another one in Africa to collect for Africa, or you can sign with one of them to collect for the whole world. I remember when I was registering with SAMRO in South Africa, they were going to collect for the rest of the world except Nigeria. For most of them, it's a one-time payment. You just pay once and that's it forever. And for some of them, it's actually free. And for some, it's free when you start, then they kind of collect their fees from your royalties as they collect them. So it's practically kind of free in some sense, but yeah. Here's a list of some well-known CMOs around the world. It is important to do your research on each one to know how they fit your specific needs and what you're trying to achieve with the organization as it relates to your royalty collection. When you register with a CMO, you get a number. It is tagged an IPI number. IPI stands for Interested party information. For example, we work on a song together. Reinhard and Mr. B works on a song together. And then Mr. B wants to register the song on his collection society, say ASCAP, for example. When he's uploading and registering the song, putting my name as one of the writers, maybe I made the beat, all he would basically need for the most part might just be my IPI number. Once he puts my IPI number into the column where it says IPI number, my name comes up and some other information would come up. And then it's just easier to just get on with the business of registering the song on the platform so they can collect the royalty and distribute respectively. And yes, CMOs work interdependently. Because they collect royalties for creatives, they work interdependently. What do I mean? Nicki Minaj is American. Let's assume Reinhard works on a song with Nicki Minaj. Reinhard is the producer, Nicki Minaj the songwriter. Reinhard is signed to Coson hypothetically, Nicki Minaj is signed to ASCAP hypothetically, just for example's sake. When Coson is collecting the royalties for Reinhard in Nigeria, Nicki Minaj's share will be held by Coson. If they don't know where Nicki Minaj is signed to, they will ask around the possible collection societies they assume Nicki Minaj might be signed to. And they ask, who is this person signed to? You guys, they find that, okay, she's signed to ASCAP. They forward her own share of the royalties collected to ASCAP. Then ASCAP will remit to Nicki Minaj. In the case where Nicki Minaj isn't signed to a collection society, which is not possible, they'll just send the money to the country of her residence. Oh, she's an American citizen. They send the money to maybe an ASCAP or a BMI or one of the collection societies in that area. And then they trust that the collection society will distribute the money to the said creative or artists. And this applies to CMOs around the world. That's just how they work for most of them. And the IPI number is how these organizations can track people's royalties and their works quickly. And registering with most of the CMOs is in two parts. You can register as a songwriter, an individual, or register as a publisher, which is a business, an entity. Or some of them even allow you to register as both. It's not even complicated at all. The options are there on some of them, their websites. When you register only as a songwriter, by law or by design of this system, you are required to fill in the details of your publishing company. That's why you see most of the creatives, they register as both a publisher and a songwriter, so that when they are filling the documentation online, they just put in the publishing company's name that they registered as and the songwriter's name, because you can't get past the stage of registering the song if you don't have a publisher, because you must have a publisher. Remember, copyright collection societies and collective management organizations, CMOs, they're basically the same thing. It's just two ways to call the same thing, yeah. What are royalties? We all know royalties are rewards. They are money paid for the use of your intellectual property. For the context of this training, there are four major types of royalties. One, there's the mechanical royalty. Two, performance royalty. Three, synchronization royalty. And then print royalty. I'm just going to add one more that I know South Africans, they invented, I don't know, which is needle time royalty. I learned about needle time royalty when I was talking to the guys from the former publishing company I was with. Now, mechanical royalties are paid to songwriters or whoever owns the rights to the song. That is when their works or songs are printed on CDs or vinyls and then they are sold. And also sales from online, that is downloads. Also, when the songs are used as ringtones or caller ringback tunes. And also when the songs are streamed on interactive platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, Audiomack, Deezer, and the likes. And secondly, we have performance royalties. This one talks about the streams that comes from non-interactive platforms and public performance. Examples are radio, malls, and the likes. This kind of royalty is taken by performing rights organizations. You have to understand that a performing rights organization is a type of CMO. It's a type of collective management organization. So the story behind performance royalties, let me give you a short story why it's called performance royalties. When music started, it was live performance all the way. People just bring their instrument and perform live in front of the crowd. That's just what it was. Because of innovation and technology, you could now record a performance on a recording device and take home, because people really wanted to take that experience home. So they wanted to have it recorded on something that they could take home. And then the time came when the invention of the recorder was done and people could actually take the music they listened to at the Royal Albert Hall or whatever place they would go to home. It sparked up the whole thing of where they had to figure out a way to pay the owners of this intellectual property, because you can't just take their work and go and use it for your pleasure without them getting rewarded. The performance royalty was brought into the picture. Why is it called performance royalty? It's because you are taking the performance, the recorded version of the performance home. It's sort of like an extension of the person's performance in your living room or wherever you take it to. That's why it is called a performance royalty. And then the third one is synchronization royalties. This one is paid when the recording are synced with visual media such as film, TV programs, commercials, video games. The producer may receive sync royalties. That's why it's called sync royalties, because you sync the audio with a visual. So these royalties compensate for the use of the music in visual production. There are three major forms of sync licensing. One is lease, and that has to do with the use of the music for a legally agreed period at an agreed fee. This can range from $5,000 to upwards of $100,000 or $150,000. And then the next one is work for hire. This one, the client pays a lump sum for the music, that's for the assets, with the intent to own the rights of the said content. This monies can range from 6 figures to 7, 8 figures. They want to own the content. In this case, you agree on a really high amount. And then the third one is royalty payments. Basically, the creator earns royalties on the asset. And then number 4 is print royalties. Print royalties are paid to songwriters and composers based on the usage of printed sheet music of their composition by other performers. What this means is when composers write out the sheets for the violinist, sheets for the piano, the pianist, the keyboardist, every time they perform your music on sheets, the Collection Society collects that, and then the monies are paid to you. Because till today or till tomorrow, we have the likes of Yanni, we have the likes of Hans Zimmer. Yanni, to be specific, still performs his music live. If another composer decides to perform Yanni's composition on stage, whatever money is made, a portion of that money is paid to Yanni, because the print of his composition is what is performed at that concert. So therefore, that amounts to what we call print royalties. And then for the fifth one, like I said, needle time royalty. This is just an extra one. They are paid when you have spins on television or music programs like MTV Base, Trace TV, or whatever music network your video is played on. So, well, this one is peculiar, like I said, to South Africa. That's the only place I've heard about needle time royalties.